Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday Build. This is episode 1.40, and today we're going to be discussing the topic considerations when investing in a tech stack, when to start spending, why, and on what, featuring my favorite tech. My name is Brittany Hernandez, and I am a lawyer, a professional no-code, low-code developer, a legal tech educator, and the global ambassador to law schools for Gavel, formerly Documate. So, as I mentioned, today we're going to be discussing something really fun and also super important, which is what you should be thinking about when you're considering whether you want to invest in particular tech to add to your stack. And we're going to talk about when you would want to start paying for those things, when or why you would start paying for them at certain junctures, and then what actual pieces of tech should you invest in. And this is obviously just from my perspective and also from my expertise, which is around the no code space. So if you have different kind of things that you need to be able to do in the future, then you would use different tech than me, but you might have the same considerations or at least want to consider these before purchasing tech. So I'm just going to review the 10 tips that I have first, and then we'll go into each of them in turn, and then I'll quickly show you and kind of walk you through my own tech stack and show you how and what considerations I had when I went through these. So the 10 things I think we should be thinking about when we're investing in tech are things like, what are my current core tools? How does it fit within my overall harmonized tech ecosystem? Does it integrate? Does it complement? Does it solve an actual problem that I have, or does it empower me to create solutions that I or my clients have? And this is really a broad point about don't just buy tech for tech's sake. So there's always like the flashy new tech thing that came out, but the the SaaS products really add up over time. So we don't want to just be investing in tech for the sake of trying the newest, flashiest thing. We should really consider, how does this actually fit in my own stack? And does it actually solve a problem that I actually have, or an invented problem because I just want to use this piece of tech? So the other one is, will the money I spend on it be made up by what it is delivering or facilitating for me? Is there a less expensive option that does the same thing while still having all the features I need? How do payment plans work? At what point will I need to upgrade? How expensive will it get once I start to scale? And how easy is it to learn? How quickly can I implement it? And then the last one is around customer support, availability, responsiveness, and helpfulness. So, as I mentioned, we're going to kind of just break these down in turn, starting with the idea of what are my current core tools. And there's kind of two parts to that. One is around the idea of the next question, which is, how does this fit overall with the core tools that I currently use? So you need to identify those first before you can move on to that second question. The other one has to do with the capacity of the current tools that you use. Do the current core tools that you use have way more functionality and features than you actually are using? So, for example, Word is way more powerful than you can imagine. It has so many more features than we actually have learned when we were in high school to write an essay. So, is there something that you can do within Word? And now, for example, there's also several different Word add ins that you can kind of use depending on what it is you're trying to do. But just thinking about what core products do I already have, and am I optimizing how they're able to help me in my day-to-day business and my day-to-day jobs or whatever else, or tasks? So is there anything that I'm already using and I'm already paying for that I can maximize how I use this tool to not have to necessarily invest in an additional tool when this one already solves that problem or fits for that particular thing I'm trying to do? So that would be my first question. And in my personal case, my core tools that I kind of everything else revolves around, I really come down to two things. The first is Softer, and the second is Gavel. So Softer looks like this when you have an account, which can be a free account or a paid account, depending on what you have. I have several software accounts because I use them for different things. This is my demonstration account, so it makes it to where I'm able to show you things without revealing like what real things I'm doing, and really like just walk you through how to do something. So I think this is a beautiful, amazing no-code tool that allows you to create not only websites but applications very quickly, and client portals and your own custom CRMs and so many millions of things that you can see in the template library and come up with yourselves. So this is one of my core tools because it serves as the front end of my business in the kind of digital space. So this is my storefront. This could be in my case, this is in a way, it's a little bit of an in progress demo site slash portfolio, but in reality, right now, it's serving really as this demonstration piece to show you how to make something. It's also what I teach people how to create in my courses, which is how to create your use software to create your website. And I do that because you're able to down the line turn this also into something that could be a client portal or other custom options as you choose, once you get proficient in how to use the tool. So this is my core, kind of one of my core tools. And the other one is actually going to be Gavel. So the reason for that is, so if you think about this website serving as your storefront, then the Gavel is kind of the products that are in your store. So um, it's whatever you're filling the display window with. So in my case, if I'm selling DIY solutions, so I'm saying, that I have a suite of copyright and trademark, maybe entertainment law packages and different workflows that you can purchase from me, like this one that has which copyright application should I use, and then somebody can click on it. Maybe they go through some questions, then they hit a paywall, they're asked to pay for whatever amount, and so on and so forth, and then they're able to generate their documents or get the answer to their question or whatever else. Then Gavel is that back end behind what I created. So same for each of these as well. If I was charging for these or not, in either case, the Gavel workflows serve as those products within the software store that I created. So that's kind of how these two things work together and are intertwined. But those would be my main core tools, as well as HubSpot, which is one of the ones that I use that I think is really good as a core for your customer relationship management software. But I'd say everything else kind of centers around these three tools, mostly the first two, but the third one being also very important for where and how you store information about your customers. Now, this is just a demonstration site, so this isn't real data here that you're seeing. So I would say this is how you manage the information about your customers, where you direct your customers to go in order to get access to your services or products, and then what your actual products are with Gavel, for example, and also facilitating that internal automation as well, when you're servicing clients and so on. So these are the core products, and then a lot of this other stuff kind of exists around these tools. So I identified that I use these the most, and then I built my stack around these core tools. So that's really why it's important to ask that question first, because it might influence your decision about how you purchase tech down the line and for each other thing you need, which is how does it fit? That goes into that second question. So identify first, what are my current core tools? But secondly, how does any new tool fit within that overall harmonized tech ecosystem? Does it integrate or complement the current core tools that I have? So with this question, one of the things that I think about a lot is what integrates with Gavel directly is like kind of the first question. So within Gavel, you can automatically integrate Clio as a as your if I go over to Clio here, if you haven't seen it before. So Clio is a way of managing your cases as a lawyer, for example. It's really built for lawyers. I'm sure you could possibly use this in, different industries as well, but it's very much built for lawyers. So if you're going to use Gavel, for example, then you can see that there is a native integration for Clio. So that might influence what practice management tool you use. You'd likely use Clio Manage because you could then automatically integrate this tool with another tool that you're using that's core, which is Gavel. So that could influence that decision as well. So you might choose this one over something else because it integrates with the tool that you're actually using. The other one here is Stripe. So you can see that this is a legacy feature. So they're going to deprecate this so that you will be able to now use the Bundles Stripe Connect feature. So what Bundles Stripe Connect allows you to do is to see a lot more information and feedback about your numbers and things like that. So what they're talking about here is that when you create a bundle, you're going to be able to choose whether you want it to be free or at a flat rate. And so when you say flat rate, it's going to ask you to enable pricing and connect your Stripe accounts here. And that will take you to what's called Stripe Connect, which looks like this. You're going to enter your information, and then that will connect all of that up for you. So that's just to say that that would influence also which payment processor I use. So because I use a core tool of mine, which is Gavel, and I'd want things to integrate with it, then I would choose like a Clio and a Stripe in order to have those be my practice management software and my payment processor, because they integrate with these. Also, Stripe integrates with Software and is used in lots of different places in Software. So that is useful as well. So that's kind of one of those things. Zapier is another one that also can be used directly within Gavel. So if we go into the back end of a workflow, what you'll see is the ability obviously you can kind of do this outside of Gavel's environment as well, meaning like you could create a multi-step zap that triggers when this thing is finished and all that stuff. But you can also put that here. You can put a webhook URL here from Zapier. And you can use more than one, and you can, give it a name, give it a URL, etc., etc. So that is how you're able to start to build your tech stack, is first looking at what is already something that is very easily integrated with the core tools that you have, looking at your stack and saying, okay, what can easily work well with the tools that I think are really important in my business? If that is native integrations, for example, then that's something to consider. For example, in Software, one of the things that is interesting to take a look at as well is if you were going to have a lead capture section here, for example, then you want to take a look at things like the actions. Where can I send this information? Right now, you can send it to MailChimp, MailerLite, Zapier. So that's another crossover. So we've seen a couple of crossovers with like a Stripe and a Zapier. And then it says forward to your email. I believe in the future they're going to also add HubSpot here, but maybe not within, maybe like in the next month or so. I'm not sure. But it would in the future be added there as well. But just knowing what are the ones that are limitations, which are the ones that are kind of there now. One of the integrations that is currently there for from HubSpot is the ability to connect HubSpot chat, this one here. So you can see different crossover and pieces for what I'm using for my core tools. One of the other things here would also be around the ability to add in, for example, embed a HubSpot form, or this one is Calendly, for example, but this is actually the one I was looking for. So this is actually a HubSpot form. So the ability to take something like that and put it into software is important as well in my particular case. So I've already asked myself the questions, what are my core tools? How does any new tech fit within my overall harmonized tech ecosystem? Making sure that I'm asking myself questions like, does it natively integrate with this tool that I'm looking at? Does it complement or supplement kind of something that's lacking in another tool? And then the next question we want to ask is, does it solve an actual problem that I have, or does it empower me to create solutions to problems that I or my clients have? So that goes back to that problem or question of don't just buy tech for tech's sake. So here I'm trying to differentiate between invented problems. Like somebody said today, I use ChatGPT every day, 10 times a day. And to me, that feels like a bit weird because I feel like they're just inventing things for ChatGPT to solve for them because you've lived quite a long time without using it. So I don't know, it's just like one of those things that I just thought it was an interesting thing to say because it makes it seem like there are so many tasks that you were doing fine before that existed. Anyway, so it's just that idea of like, I'm sure it does solve some actual problems that you would really need it for. But but maybe every single thing that she uses it for is exactly the problem that she had. Who knows? But the point being that don't just use something for the sake of using the new shiny thing. Make sure you're spending your time using that thing and your money using that thing in order to actually solve a problem that you have. And I added this kind of, or does it empower me to create solutions to problems that I or my clients have, because of the idea that maybe I'm building an internal client portal or CRM to kind of build my own custom version of something that I need access to, or it gives me a lot of control and power to build that. Or does it enable me to create solutions for my clients that solves their problems, that then ultimately solves one of my problems, which is bringing in extra revenue, client satisfaction, client retention and nurturing, and so on. So think about those problems as well as ones that you might actually have and that you could actually solve. The next question has to do with, will the money I spend on it be made up by what is delivering or by what it is facilitating or delivering for me? And the reason I added this one is because I was paying a lot of money not a lot, it's all relative, of course, but in my opinion, it was costing a lot of money for the fact that I wasn't really using it anymore. So essentially, and this is really no knock to Monday.com at all. I think it's a really great tool. Just for my particular use case, I had to end up canceling the account because essentially I was just using it for not a long-term project. It was just sort of like in a way you could say I was using it to interact with my assistant and assign tasks and things like that. And then also to coordinate the creation of the Gavel certification courses with my co-creator, Megan. And so we had like a lot of flurry of activity for a while, but we needed 3 team members. And so that took us out of the free plan, which only has 2 that are free. And so once you get out of the free forever plan, and you need to start paying, you end up starting to pay by seat. So here we have £7 by seat, per seat. So if you have 3, 21, I think I was actually doing this one. So the actual like US dollars figures are a little bit different. I believe I was paying like 32 or some dollars per month in order to pay for me and then 2 other people to be on my team. But then the project ended and it was really just like me and my assistant, and I was paying like all of this money just to kind of like tell her what tasks I needed her to do, and we didn't need the other person anymore. And I realized that Asana allows you to have up to 15 teammates on your plan for £0 free forever. So when I looked at these two, it just kind of blew my mind that like you're only allowed 2 team members on the Monday plan, but you get 15 on Asana. And it does, in my case, essentially the same thing. So the money that I was spending on it didn't really make up for what it was delivering or facilitating for me, because I was literally spending that much money just to like tell my assistant like what I needed her to do and to kind of like have a record of those things and move them into different Kanban boards and things like that, which is a useful thing to do, but it wasn't actually like giving me back anything. And it kind of goes into that second question, or that number 5 question here, which is there a less expensive option that does the same thing while still having all the features I need? So these two can kind of work in tandem with each other, which is like, if it's not delivering, or if I'm paying more for something than it's giving back to me, then let me just ask that next question is there a less expensive option that does the same thing while still having all the features I need? So in this case, it was that Asana does essentially the same thing in a different like format with different rules and different like tiers and pricing and all that stuff. But essentially, I just needed to have myself and my assistant be able to talk to each other and track the progress of tasks. And I didn't really feel that I needed to pay every month for that right now, unless I had a larger team. So I think that that was a big distinction for me, and that this is illustrated kind of like well with this number 4 and 5 question. So number 6, how do the payments plan work and at what point will I need to upgrade? One of the things I don't have on here is Thinkific, which is one I use a lot. They have a free plan. Let me see if I can get back to the main site rather than this one. Yeah. So if we go to this one, for example, I use this one for all of my courses. Looks like they've changed around their look a little bit, but that's fine. So we have starter plans versus scale plans, as you can see. I think mine might be this one. I pay about like, I think it's $149 a month. Maybe this has changed a little bit. Mine might have been grandfathered in from something else. I think it's like 149 or 159. But anyway, so I pay by month, and what I'm saying here is, how do the payments plan work? At what point will I need to upgrade? So if they have a free tier, like how long can I stay on that free tier before I have to upgrade? Like some of them are going to be better than others. So we'll want to be able to determine whether we need to upgrade, very quickly, or if we're going to have a little bit of time to work within this tool before we need to start paying for it. So in this particular one, we have the ability to have a free plan where we wouldn't need to upgrade unless we want to have more than one course or more than one community, more spaces than two for a community, and these different things. So this is actually pretty generous, to be fair, because you could have your like flagship course, for example, with one community and unlimited students and all this. And you have the ability to accept payments and all this stuff. So you have quite a lot of functionality before you have to start upgrading. So, and even when you do upgrade, the basic plan's only £31 a month, and you get unlimited courses. So that's quite a big jump into what you're able to do in the higher plan, which is not that expensive. So I think this is a good example of kind of the idea of how do the payments plan work? How do the payment plans work? And at what point will I need to upgrade? Zapier is also a good example of this as well. They, I believe, do it on like number of tasks you need and whether you want multi-step apps. For me, I really needed multi-step apps. So I was going to need to upgrade rather quickly in this particular case. So I think that this jump is comes a little bit sooner. But you can also see like how many tasks per month and what that would cost. You can see that there's a little bit of an element of feature considerations, multi-steps apps and filters and formatter and versions, and whether you have these different custom logic with paths and so on and so forth. Or if you have a number of tasks requirement as well. So that's something to consider, is whether they have kind of a hybrid way of pricing, et cetera, et cetera. Also, you can consider whether they take a percentage. So in Stripe's case, and any type of payment processor, they usually don't charge you like a monthly fee. They usually charge you like a percentage of each sale. So just understanding these pricing payment plans and things like that is going to be important, and understanding when you would want to upgrade and at what point that would become necessary, can give you a sense of how to budget for these different types of tech as well. The question around how expensive will I get once once I start to scale kind of comes because of HubSpot's interesting pricing plan structure. So if you look here, you can see that you have free tools where there's no credit card required. There is a CRM suite starter for £18 a month. And these are very reasonable. Like the CRM that is free forever has free marketing tools, free sales tools. You're able to do quite a lot for free. And so it's a long time before you actually need to upgrade. And when you do, the next upgrade is only £18 a month if you pay annually. And you get things like, 1,000 marketing contacts and all this stuff. However, it can get very expensive once you start to scale. So if we go into like all of the plans, and like all of the different options, let me see if I can show you what this looks like. Let's see. So this is like marketing software pricing. So you can see that it can be like £3,000 a month if you're at enterprise, which is like 36,000 a year. Includes 10,000 marketing contacts, blah, blah, blah. If you needed more, you can kind of see what that would be. But you can see that it goes from £18 a month to like £3,000 a month, or 30,000 pounds a year, 45,000 pounds a year. So just know, obviously, that's going to be a big jump from going from 0 to 45,000 pounds a year. You can see like the difference there, distinguishing between individuals and small teams and businesses and enterprises. But just kind of know that that's still going to be quite expensive at the professional level. Comprehensive marketing software for automation, reporting, and and campaigns and things like that. Even if you're just an individual or a small team. So it can 8,000 pounds would be the most expensive piece of tech I would have in my stack if I were to pay that. And it can get even higher depending on additional marketing contacts you need. So it can be 26,000 pounds a year, which in the UK is some people's salary for a year. Obviously, if you're like, have a business or something, maybe hopefully you're getting more than that. But thinking about how one of the things you consider, and I still think that HubSpot is quite good. And so, you know, at my particular level, I'm not paying 10,000 pounds or 46,000 pounds a year for one tool. But I do think you should think about this. How expensive will it get once I start to scale? Like very early. Think about whether you want to invest all of your well, it's not necessarily like whether you would be like steered away from this tool because of that. It's more about realizing that if you're going to use it, you should really maximize how you use it and understand what's available to you and why you might want to invest in certain areas or others with this tool. Because it will get more expensive later. So you can also be more aware of which people you're marking as marketing contacts, because each one is going to put you closer and closer to having to upgrade again, which could put you at a higher tier that you're not really ready to pay for. So all of these different things are going to be considerations for you. Another one is going to be how easy is this tool to learn? So how easy is it to pick up this tool yourself? How easy is it to have someone train your team or your teammates train each other or whatever else? Is it quite intuitive? This wouldn't necessarily be a super deal breaker, depending on what you need, but how it's just more like how long does it take for us to learn it, so we can also see how long it would be before we can implement this solution or tool. So those are some things you consider as well. I was just going to quickly add a few things I forgot to mention up front, which are around things like Google domains, which is going to later be kind of managed by Squarespace domains. But this was how you can quickly and easily do things like create a custom domain for quite cheap, depending on like what name you use, of course, because mine, something like a dorkcormayam.pro or something like that, is only $12 per year, which is super inexpensive, and also very easy to manage. So that's something you can consider to use as well. And then I was going to say, because I use software as a core tool, I therefore by default have to choose a data source if I'm going to use a data source in whatever I'm making, which would be the options that they give me, which are Airtable and Google Sheets. And then in the future, they're going to also have HubSpot be an integration for that as well. But with that all on the horizon, and what I'm using now is Airtable. So I have that as part of my stack as well. Airtable has a free forever plan that is very good. I do pay for the one that I actually use in real life, not from a demonstration perspective. And I do think it's worth the money for this one because specifically around the customizable, like how customizable it is, as well as the ability to do internal automations without having to have an external third party tool like Zapier. Even though I do use Zapier as well, I think it's nice that you can trigger something when something happens within Airtable itself. Another tool that I use and because it integrates with a core tool, is Calendly as a way of having a booking calendar. So if I say book a free consultation, this is a Calendly page. And you can use the HubSpot one as well. It depends on how you have this flow work out. But I have Calendly integrated with HubSpot so that when a person books a time with me, their contact information is automatically added to HubSpot. Similarly, I use MailChimp for my newsletters rather than HubSpot, mostly because Thinkific also has a direct integration with MailChimp, and Softer has a direct integration with MailChimp, and MailChimp actually integrates with HubSpot as well. So because MailChimp is used by so many people, many of the other tools you'll use have created integrations with MailChimp as a number one priority for the newsletter kind of type of marketing email type of things, because their free plan is quite good. This one here, I actually pay the essentials price, and that's only because I wanted to take off the MailChimp logo. Um, so that's something to consider as well. So that's one of those questions of how quickly would I need to upgrade. It also would depend on what's important to you. To me, it was important to take off the logo. For other people, maybe it's more important to save the money. So you can see all the different currencies, etc., etc. So I pay $13 a month for that one. So lastly is around customer support, availability, responsiveness, and helpfulness. So something that's interesting is Gavel has a very good customer support team. They are available in lots of different places. Similarly, Softer's in-app chat customer support is very good, and they're very responsive and helpful. So I would take all of these into consideration: availability, responsiveness, and helpfulness. I also use the in-app help chat from HubSpot, which they've been very good and responsive. So I do think that those are important considerations when buying tech as well, because if you have a problem with a tool and somebody can't help you figure it out, it can be quite frustrating. Thinkific's in-app help and support is quite good. Ones that I've had less good experiences with, but I still really like the product and will pay for it, is Airtable. I submitted something I indicated was business critical, and I don't think I've even heard back from them yet. So that's a little bit frustrating, but it was eventually resolved. So I don't know. That's a tricky one, but I still think it's something you should think about and consider. Does one outweigh the other? Are there other places I can find the information, such as a community forum or things like that? I don't think I've tried to contact Zapier's help or support team at any point, so I can't really speak to that one. And Clea's team is very, very good. So their support team is very good. Their their partner engagement reps and things like that, they're all very good. Everyone I've worked with from Clio has been pretty stellar. So all of these things make a difference in your buying decision as somebody who's purchasing a piece of tech. So just remember that things you might consider are what are my current core tools? How does this piece of tech or solution fit within my overall harmonized tech ecosystem? Does it integrate? Does it complement? Does it solve an actual problem I have, or does it empower me to create solutions to problems that I or my clients have? Don't just buy tech for tech's sake. Will the money I spend on it be made up by what it is delivering or facilitating for me? Is there a less expensive option that does the same thing while still having all the features I need? How do the payment plans work? At what point will I need to upgrade? How expensive will it get once I start to scale? How easy is it to learn? How quickly can I implement it? And with the customer support, what is their availability, responsiveness, and helpfulness? So I hope this has been a useful exercise to kind of walk through each of these different pieces. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to field questions and chat to everyone. This has been an episode of the Wednesday Build, with new episodes live every Wednesday. I also do Code Word Hex, which has new issues out every Tuesday, along with the Tuesday Forecast, which is a free weekly newsletter. I also have certification courses in Gavel, courses in Software and Airtable, Go Full Page, with more to come. We also have a community called Chromium Global, and there is a very active Slack group for the Gavel community, which I highly recommend that you take a look at. So thank you so much for those of you that are watching. We're going to meet next Wednesday, 11th of October at 10 a.m. Pacific time. However, I will be in France at a no-code conference. I might need to make that one pre-recorded as well. So just look out for a notice there. And we're going to be discussing the topic problematic layers of process, leaning out and shaping up with tech. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or via email at brittany@camerium.pro. And for any inquiries relating to Gavel's law school program, just email me at brittany@gavel.io. So that is all for today, and I will see you all next